How would you define someone that has resilience?
Simplest answer would just be somebody who endures everything. If you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
Anti-fragile principle.
Anti-fragile,
things
yeah.
that gain from chaos or things that gain from being harmed. And guys like you, in that failure point, we're like, all right, why did I fail? These three or however many things are why I didn't mess this up.
Yeah.
What can I do to start working on these things so this does not happen again?
Was a time when your father passed away and you were like, Royce, I still want to work. And I was like, are you sure? What would your dad do? And what would your dad say in the event that this happened? And you choked up a little bit and you were like, one of the things that I look for when I'm having someone in my team or a partner in crime is an attribute called resilience. Now, if you have this particular trait, you can get a lot of things done. A lot of you guys might think that this might be an internal trait. While I believe that's true, it can also be cultivated and trained. And if you can gain this one specific trait, you can be extremely valuable in an organization or in a team. Doesn't really matter. So I got here a coach with me for the first time, coach from West. He's also coaching at the St. Rose location as well. He's probably one of my most resilient person that I've met, not just physically. And physically, I can see that. The big one is mentally, because you've gone through some things that I think would probably stop a person to its tracks. And for some particular reason, you keep moving forward. And that's why I want to have a conversation with you about this particular topic, because resilience, I think right now it's a hot topic. People look at it and they're taking cold plunges and ice cold showers. But at the end of the day, it's like it's popular because it's so needed.
I agree. I mean, not to speak negatively or anything, but definitely softer times right now.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of bad stuff going on right now, in all areas of the world, all walks of life. And, hard times create hard people.
Yeah.
So,
it's like that quote. It's like hard.
Yeah, we're kind of on that upswing.
It's like hard times make hard people. Hard people make good times. Good times make soft people. And that's kind of where we are. And then right now we're going through a hard time. And I think there is a certain amount of people that are becoming resilient, practicing grit. And it's really exciting because you're starting to see who those are. Like you can see the separation big time.
Agreed.
Which is really, really cool. But let's define this. How would you define someone that has resilience?
I guess the simplest answer would just be somebody who endures everything. Not only endures it, but pushes through it. I guess probably one of my favorite quotes on it, I actually saw it when I was maybe 13, 14 years old or so for the first time. It was actually Winston Churchill. If you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
It gets misquoted a lot. People, Bernie Mac said that. No. As much as I love Bernie Mac, he definitely didn't say that. And neither did Steve Harvey. It was, Winston Churchill, I believe, smack dab in the middle of World War II.
If you look at all of Winston Churchill's quotes, a lot of the quotes that we see out there is a version of Winston Churchill's quotes. There's like
Absolutely.
a whole thing about it. It's either Winston Churchill or Jesus.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's quite a few, they kind of get mixed and matched. You'll get a lot from, people paraphrasing or kind of putting their own spin on, a lot of the Stoics, that type of stuff. I know quite a few people, they are looking at Winston Churchill, which is great, and again, it's just kind of indicative of the times, things, again, not to be negative, things were soft, people were soft and stuff like that for so long because times were really good.
Yeah.
Now things are kind of going the other way. It's a little bit harder of a time, stuff financially, mentally, physically, spiritually for everybody.
Yeah.
So people are starting to look back to times when you had to be tougher, to make it in life, which is awesome.
I love it. So when I look at somebody that's resilient, it's someone that has the ability to handle discomfort, but not only handle it, they actually use it. They leverage it to not only like move forward, but they utilize it to succeed. And that's resilience to me. I think there's one part where you can handle resilience. Like that's great. You're robust. But then there's another part where you can handle resilience, but leverage those experiences to turn you into a monster.
Exactly. The anti-fragile principle,
Anti-fragile,
things
yeah.
that gain from chaos or things that gain from being harmed. I agree 100%. That's still one of my favorite books that you've actually recommended me was the Anti-Fragile book.
Yeah. It took me forever to read that book.
Same. It is very technical, very, very dense. I had to chew it up in
You need a
small
dictionary.
pieces. Yeah.
Great book, by the way, guys.
Amazing.
So if in the whole premise of it, just to kind of give the audience an idea, is there's like 3 types of things in the world. One is fragile. So when you put it into stress, it'll break. Like glass. Glass is very fragile. Drops on the ground, it'll break. Right? You have something that is robust. Maybe it's a rock. You throw it on the ground, it'll probably be okay. But now if you're applying a ton of pressure to it and you throw it on the ground as hard as you can, or you're throwing it from really, really, really high, and then it breaks. That's something that's strong and robust. But something that's resilient is when you put pressure in it, it gets stronger. So something like carbon, right? So you put so much pressure into that and it becomes a diamond. And that's why people value a diamond so much, not because it's the blood diamonds, but because of just the idea alone that it's forged through massive amounts of pressure. And he was it Natib Talib? Yeah, something like that. But anyways, he gives so many cool references, not just from the the rocks. He talks about different types of governments, different types of personalities. And if you guys want to read that, you guys should absolutely.
But go into it knowing more than we did, though. Very dense. It's going to take you a while to get through. Amazing book, and I promise you, it will absolutely change the way you look at the world and look at yourself. But it's going to take a while. You're definitely going to question yourself multiple times while you read that.
It's a book that requires research.
I agree.
There's easy books where you can just I could swig this. This book, you need a YouTube person to kind of explain what's going on. You need Wikipedia. Now you have Chat GPT. So now you're referencing this context.
Exactly. I'm more or less waiting for the Cliff's Notes or the Complete Idiot Guide to Anti-Fragile to come out.
Yeah.
That way, people, when you're in a super big hurry, you're like, man, or you're super fried. You're like, I don't need all the flowery language, man. I just need you to get to the point. Tell me exactly what I'm supposed to learn here.
Okay.
Eventually it'll come out.
I love it.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about resilience real quick. Because remember I was explaining, yes, it's an internal trait that can be that you might necessarily have, but you can also cultivate it. And we'll talk about the cultivating side in general. Where do you think your resilience stems from? Listen, if you're trying to lose weight, but you're just frustrated because you just can't seem to see any results, we would love to help you out. Now, we've been helping thousands of our athletes over the course of a decade by crafting personalized programs that are not only sustainable, but also effective. Now, if you're ready to transform your health, click on the show notes below, book a call with one of our coaches. We'd love to help you out. Now back to the show. Peace.
I'm actually going to give 100% credit to my dad. My dad, obviously none of you guys, were fortunate enough to get to know him because he passed away.
I met him.
Right when I started. Oh, that's right. You did meet him.
I met him once. Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. He passed away right when I started coaching, days before I started coaching. And, he was a laborer his whole life. He was a furniture mover longer than I've been alive, from the time he was a kid all the way up until a few years before he passed. And, I was so close with my dad, and, as tough a person as my dad was, he was also especially towards, his children, he was like the ultimate dad, you know, even though he traveled the country constantly, you know, he had, you know, he made it like even after my parents split, you know, 3 times a week, like clockwork. He was calling us like, what's going on, kids? Like, cool. How is school going? Why aren't you doing this like you're supposed to do? Okay.
Yeah.
Your mom said that you're not doing this, you know, like, cool. Do you need to come out on the truck with me? That type of stuff, you know? And he always, you know, I think he more or less thought coming out on the truck with him was, you know, some sort of punishment, but I freaking loved it, man.
Yeah.
Like I loved being out on the road. I loved loading and unloading the trailer and stuff like that because it was something that was physically demanding, but I think because, you know, I did inherit so many even physical traits, you know, from my dad, just like the muscle mass and stuff, the build, everything. Like I found pretty early on that I was kind of suited for it. And you know, my dad, he was definitely a stoic and he didn't even really know it. You know, he was very much one of those like, well, all right, this is going to suck, but we're going to get through it, you know? And, you know, millions of times as a kid, you know, you know, things are going on and stuff. And, you know, I'm upset about something and, you know, or I'm sad about something. And it was always get tough, son, get tough. Yeah. You know, and he definitely didn't say it in a mean-spirited or a condescending way. I think it was more kind of I know you're low right now, but it ain't gonna last forever. Just take that first step, like ball your fists up and start fighting back against the world, you know?
Yeah. And there's a lesson here, guys. Like there's a lot of the listeners here that are parents. And they think the most impactful changes in their life are going to be those one-on-one conversations. But sometimes it's just being there with them. And we have this thing that, oh, I'm going to punish my kid doing this. But in general, he ends up liking it. And guys, like he's not lying to you. If you want anyone to help you move, Corey's the guy because he'll move it all.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Like I said, you know, even being in the moving industry for so long, it benefited me in all types of training, you know, even from a young age, getting into martial arts and stuff like that. Like I didn't get tired nearly as fast as other people. Then I started getting into weightlifting and stuff when I was in high school. And again, I could go a little bit longer than everybody else. And, you know, then I discovered CrossFit. I was like, all right, cool. This is a pretty impactful butt kicking.
Yeah.
Like I like this, but now I've got to push myself and get to the point where this stuff doesn't absolutely destroy me every time.
Yeah.
You know, it was about finding or not necessarily finding it, but like enjoying that challenge. Like, oh, okay, awesome. So this is destroying everybody else. Okay, so I got to find the outlier, the one person in here that's actually really killing this. And all right, cool. It's you. I've just got to beat you by 2 reps or 10 seconds or something. You know, just it's about finding that difficult goal and enjoying the process. You know, suffering with a smile. So,
why do you enjoy that process? Like once you know it's already bad, and then it gets even worse.
Man, again, I think it all just kind of comes back to my dad that like, get tough, son.
Yeah.
Get mad at it and push forward. You know, that's another thing that I've heard since I was a kid. Like, dude, just all else fails, get mad at it.
You feel like you connect with them in those moments where you're like, okay, this is hard. I can make this harder. And then that's where you have your connections.
Oh yeah, dude. I love a good challenge. You know, I love people telling me like, oh, you can't do that. Like hell, I can't.
Yeah.
Give me a couple weeks. Watch me go.
Here's an example of how that happened. I was like, hey, Corey, like I'm hurt. I think I'm just going to do Murph every single day. And then you were like, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Most people would be like, you're dumb.
Oh yeah.
No, but you were just like, when do you want to start?
Yeah.
Like, I already started. I'm 3 days in. And then you're like, okay, let's.
You say, all right, I'm in, man. I got you on 100 days. Oh yeah. I had everybody I knew telling me like, you got to stop that.
Everybody
like,
was telling
I was
us
doing that first competition with the 2 Jeffs and poor freaking, like our Jeff, Coach Jeff, he was like, yeah, man, like you can't do Murph. the morning of that competition. Like,
Already
hell, I can't.
Already committed, man.
Yeah, you're not my dad.
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And, you know, old intern Jeff Arnold, he was in town for that competition too. And he's like, you're doing Murph before you did this? Yeah, why? He's like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not for you, man. It's for me.
Yeah. I was like, dude, this is all a test for me, man. And I promised Royce I was going to do this, so I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
I can't take a couple of days off and just because, I've got this competition or something like that, you know?
I think a testament to grit was doing that challenge big time.
Oh,
because throughout the first 30 days, I felt like we were both injured in so many different areas. I was like, dude, I think I tore my pec.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, no, you just got to roll it, man. It's like, dude, I think I broke my foot.
Dude, and you remember when I couldn't freaking raise my arms above my shoulders? I was like right here for like 2 weeks. And I was like, are you good? Yeah. It was like that meme from, you know, Stallone. Just.
So I think it's, so when you're testing something like that, it's nice to have someone else go through it.
Yeah.
Because we were both doing butterflies at the time, which is a crazy version pull up, which is tough on the lats and the biceps. And then we were like, dude, does like your bicep hurts, your lats hurt? It's like, yeah, dude, I kind of stopped doing butterflies. And then we got stronger together because we experienced those injuries, and then you're like, you know, but I tested this and it's not as bad. And that's why in the Murphs now, I don't do any butterflies, even though it's so much quicker. The effect of doing butterflies is so nasty on my elbows, the biceps, the chest. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, I think so. It was actually really unique when we were doing that 100 days of Murph together.
Yeah.
That is actually responsible for me actually getting my butterflies in the first place. And it was weird the way it happened. Like, you know, you like during the internship, you had tried to teach it to us and stuff, and I had the movement down, but the coordination aspect just wasn't there. It just was not clicking yet. And then I vividly remember Nick Nash. It was when I was still coaching some of the mornings over at St. Rose. Nick Nash happened to be there, and like he was doing his thing and stuff like that, and I didn't even realize I had started doing it. And just Nick is like, "When did you get butterflies?" And I'm like,
"I don't know.
I don't know. Was I doing them?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, with the vest on." And I'm like,
"Yeah."
Okay. And so, then further down the line, that actually enabled me to get my first bar muscle ups as well, because I had built up, you know, that resilience, and I got that movement down, and it was just cool as hell to see. You know, it was it made all the tears and stuff that we both had in our hands so much like worth it.
And there's the lesson of resilience. I think there's a massive gift that people don't get to see. When you're in those modes where your body is breaking down, there is a segment of that where you have to naturally become more efficient. And in your case, you got more efficient with your pull-ups. You're like, well, naturally, because it's a quicker pull-up. And if you have the technique down, it actually is significantly a lot easier.
I agree.
Right? You know? So just the path of resilience you can start to adapt really cool skills that can drastically improve your productivity levels. And that's just what's happening in fitness. But if you're doing this in life, things that typically that were hard at one point of your life become like a warm-up in life, which is why I want to talk about this, because resilience does more than just the physical side. It's the mental side. I want to ask you a question, and we can cut this out if we need to, but there was a time when your father passed away, and I noticed it significantly. And you were like, Royce, I still want to work. And I was like, are you sure? And we were talking about it. I was like, what would your dad do? And what would your dad say in the event that this happened? And you choked up a little bit.
Absolutely.
And he said, and you were like, he's like, keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, my dad, dude, he was absolutely my hero. Like, everybody who came in contact with him loved him. Kids especially loved my dad. And my dad scared the hell out of most people. very quiet. He kept to himself, stuff like that. And he was not a large man. He maybe came up to right here, much to his dismay. He hated it that I got taller than he was, but dude, he was just a compact little monster, but with that heart of gold, and that's what he did. He encouraged people to keep going, and I knew like that, if I would have let that stop me, he'd probably be, he'd be rolling over in his grave. Like, really, son, you're going to let this stop you. Like, this is your chance to step up and not only do what I did, but to be better at it, to do it more. Like, cool. You used to say that you really admired that I took care of everybody. This is your chance to do the same thing, and I know for a fact, it's like I told you, the morning you asked how my dad was, and I told you that he passed away, and you couldn't believe that I was still at work.
Yeah.
It was like my dad would have been disappointed in me if I would have let this, discourage me, or if I would have used this as some sort of excuse, like to not do what I do. Because he knew how much work I had put into this. Like the last time I saw him, I had to go retake my L1 test 2.5 hours away in St. George, because they had lost my original test.
Yeah.
And I felt horrible about it.
Yeah.
And for a long time that actually did mess with me, because I was like, wow, I missed out on the last few hours seeing my dad alive because I had to go take this test. And, talking to my stepmom and my uncle and everybody, like, yeah, like dad didn't think that I was, he didn't think that I was, just flaking out and didn't want to hang out with him. Right. And they actually got mad at me. They're like, you really think that your dad would be mad at you for doing exactly what he taught you to, handling what you needed to handle, like pushing through? Like, hell knows. Yeah. Like your dad, I guarantee you, he's somewhere grinning that freaking toothless, crooked smile, and stuff like that he have, like just saying, that's right, son, Yeah. It's like I said, it was all like me wanting to do my dad proud and me wanting to prove to myself, I'm not going to let this stop me. Like this is my chance to step up and, make my dad even more proud.
And this is the decision I had when you had that question, because I could have just naturally like, just go home, Corey. But where it came from is what separated resilience to almost like, you can just like, how some people will just block out emotion, but I don't think you blocked it out.
Not at all.
What you did was you're like, no, if I had a conversation with my dad, this is what he would want me to do. And I was like, clock back in, get out there and crush it, bro.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, no, man, like we started the 5 a.m. class because I said I wanted to do it. I'm up that early anyway. My first day, was when we had this conversation, and I was like, no, dude, my class was already full this morning. I've got 8 to 12 people depending on me to be here. Like, that's fine, man. Like they may not know it, but that was absolutely kind of a lifeline for me. I have people depending on me to keep doing what I need to do. So cool. I'm going to mourn. Yeah. There were times I was sad as hell, like I'm sure you remember, man, even on Saturdays, I was in Central 3:00 in the morning, just the angriest music I could find, blaring, throwing weights around, screaming my head off. Like I absolutely was mourning, but I just was not letting it stop me because I had people depending on me, and I knew that I could get through this.
Yes. And guys, for those of you that are 5 a.m.ers, the reason why we have 5 a.m., one of the big reasons is actually Corey. Because there were the clients that were like, hey, I want to go train at 5 a.m. It's like, dude, I ain't waking up at 5 a.m., my friend. And then we proposed it in a meeting, and you were like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And now it's one of the most popular classes in both locations. And it's a testament that because of a person that has resilience can create that. So if I never hired somebody that didn't have this type of resilience, I don't think I would have a 5 a.m. class right now. right? Because one, I wouldn't even understand if it was even profitable. I was like, is anyone even going to wake up that early? And what's crazy is everyone does.
Oh yeah.
And it's amazing how that formulated through essentially pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was the time when you lost your dad. That was the time when we were getting feedback. We were growing a little bit.
Oh yeah. You know, and I had a crappy living situation as well. I had those two roommates that,
Oh yeah.
you know, like I'm not saying that they were bad people, but we just had completely different lifestyles, completely different personalities that just did not work together, you know? So as strange as it sounds, you know, everything I was going through after losing my dad, everything, like having that time being in the gym and stuff like that, having like that purpose, like, okay, I have to be awake at 3 o'clock. I have people depending on me at 5 o'clock. That gave me a sense of purpose. Like I said, that was a huge, huge lifeline for me.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool, man. Like I woke up, you know, and obviously like a few days after, like, damn, man, like I'm never going to get another text message from my dad in the morning, you know, because he would just do that randomly, send you text message like, yeah, man, you know, I think today is the day the world needs a good ass kicking, son, and you're the one to do it. You know, he was just as crude as the dude could be, and as, you know, as I'm sure offensive as some people found his language and stuff sometimes. Like he was that guy. He knew how to light a fire under your ass, and you know, it like I'd be sad, like, man, I'm never gonna get any of these anymore. Well, suck it up, man.
Yeah.
You got 12 people on their way to the gym right now.
Right.
Go to the gym, get ready, like do your absolute best. You're not going to be perfect. You just started doing this. You're going to have lots of negative feedback or constructive. And it was always constructive negative feedback, which I love,
Right.
you know, like, cool. Just say, thank you, sir. You know,
Yeah.
and even in that 5 a.m. class, we had some really difficult personalities and stuff. And I intentionally found the most difficult personality and made a deal with him every week. Hey man, what do you think I could have done better this week? And I asked him specifically because I knew he wouldn't sugarcoat it. You know, your intro was too long, man. And you're speaking too fast.
Yeah.
You're like, I need you to slow down. If you think that you're going too slow, chances are it's probably just the right speed for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Cool. On this movement, you skipped this part, you know? And I just started writing it all down. I still have that initial journal. I would write everything down every single day, what I had to teach, what this person told me that I needed to work on. Like, all right, get 10% better, 2% better. At 2% better every day, 10% better every week. Just keep going.
I want to unpack this because this is the value of someone that has been resilient for years, is instead of shying away from that dragon, which typically a lot of coaches be like, I don't want to handle that guy. That guy's just like too critical. He gives me too much feedback. He thinks he's too hot shit. Instead, you're like, that's the guy. I'm going to go ask him every single week how I can get better.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. Maybe at first you're like, okay, I hate this guy. But then after about 20, 30, what was that? How did you receive it? It was like, this is nothing now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It didn't hurt my feelings. Didn't even put a chink in the armor, man. It's like, all right, cool. You know, metabolize this. I got, you know, I would ask him on Fridays. Cool. I got the weekend to figure out a plan to start implementing. All right, cool. I'm going to start timing myself.
Right.
And stop trying to cram so much information into my intros. Like, and that was one of the things he told me. He's like, dude, you have your certifications. We know you know this stuff. You don't have to prove it to us.
Yeah.
You know, slow down, simplify things. Like, all right,
Exactly.
I got this, you know? And again, you know, that dragon, you know, in that class, like, yeah, the guy, he came across as very gruff. And at first I was like, this guy hates me and stuff. I really was. I was like, damn, this guy really does not like me. But over that, like over, I'd say probably a 2.5 month period, we just started developing this rapport.
Yeah.
Suddenly, dude, like towards me, he wasn't softening up by any means, but he was opening up, you know, showing a lot more of his personality. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, he's actually a pretty funny guy. He's just very deadpan and he's very in control of his emotions. I like that.
So it's I'm picturing like Game of Thrones, like you're trying to pet the dragon, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that are afraid of the dragon and they get crushed, but then the ones that actually look at the dragon and like touch the dragon, you eventually befriend it,
Mm-hmm.
and that is resilience. That's the beauty of what resilience can do. That's why I wanted to talk about this topic, because too many need it,
Mm-hmm.
and too many are just really interested on the cold plunges.
Yeah.
But that's like
That
that's
momentary
surface.
hardship. Yeah.
That's surface layer. Beyond that is some really cool things that you can start to apply in hard conversations, hard events, feedback, the loss of a family. I want to talk about that because just
Mm-hmm.
recently we had a lot of members that had their family die, parents die,
Mm-hmm.
friends die. We even had some members die recently, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so in realm of grief, I mean, he's been gone for
About 4. I believe it was 4 years in January 30th, I believe.
okay. So the question is like, does it get better? Like, is there phases through this? Because someone here is listening,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're a fan of you. They're gonna be listening to this.
Oh,
What were the
100%.
phases for you, and does it change? Does it get better? Does it get worse?
Um, as much as I would love to say, that I went through all 7 stages of grief, I know for a fact I definitely skipped quite a few. I probably skipped straight to anger, you know?
What's the first step?
Oh, I believe it's denial. I want
Okay.
to say, like I said, it's been a few years since I've looked at the model.
Okay.
I want to say it was denial at first. And,
And what's anger? What number's anger? It's like way up there.
I want to say it's 3 or 4
Okay.
or something, somewhere around the, kind of smack dab in the middle. And then the final step is acceptance.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I skipped quite a few steps, but somehow it worked for me.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't work for a lot of people, but I'd like to think that over the course of my life, I've definitely not mastered, but gotten really, really good at using anger to my advantage. Obviously when I was a kid, it's just spilling out all over anybody who came near me, anything like that. And over time, I kind of started realizing that that was wrong and started trying to focus it and point it in the direction where it needed to be pointed.
Yeah.
Like not taking it out on other people or taking it out on myself, because that's sometimes more destructive than taking it out on other people. Aiming it at the problem,
Right.
Or whatever tasks I knew I had to do,
Yeah.
using that.
I want to touch up on anger real quick, because anger is such a powerful tool. Leveraged correctly, you can do some pretty amazing things. But anger stems a lot of times like from history, and it's a thing that you have to adapt to survive in the environment that you're in. For those of you guys that are looking at Corey now, and he's like, "You're chiseled, man. Like you look amazing." But what people don't know is you were heavier at one point.
Absolutely. I was 305 pounds in high school.
And tell me what that's like, being 305 pounds in high school.
Especially at the time, man. It was hell. I was the weird, artsy, quiet, younger brother. My older brother was the fit, extreme sports guy, super, super popular. So I was already immediately living in his shadow. I wasn't Corey. I was, you're Matt's little brother. Oh yeah, you guys are nothing alike. And that did mess with me all through high school, having to live in my brother's shadow. And then at some point, like something just kind of clicked and I stopped giving a damn. Like, no, I'm not just Matt's little brother, like I still look up to my older brother.
Yeah.
Dude, Matt, especially like him overcoming everything that he has physically, everything, with his spinal injury, like Matt is the epitome of a trooper. But, I just started like,
did you ever get bullied when you were at 305?
oh, 100%.
What was that? Because I was the skinny kid. I
Oh,
got
yeah.
bullied as a skinny kid, but I don't
Oh,
know. Yeah.
dude, it's rough, man. It would mess with you.
Yeah, what was that like?
Like of course, you're always going to have people like, oh, fat boy, blah, blah, blah. Where's your bra? This type of stuff. And, I was really good at hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
But then while I was by myself, I would just break down, and
Mm-hmm.
people knew, that they could say those types of things.
Yeah.
And most of the time they weren't going to get a reaction out of me.
Yeah.
It's especially considering, like I started, Taekwondo, stuff like that at 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I was definitely very much still involved in it all through middle school and high school. Like chances are I probably really could have taken them apart. They had no idea because I never brought it up,
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. I was just that quiet, like weird kid. I was just, I had the bleached hair and the huge spikes and the gigantic, I was the weird one, like
Yeah.
as a chubby kid trying to wear double and triple XL Dickies work shirts to cover it up and gigantic Jinko pants and stuff like that, just to cover those things up. I got messed with a lot,
Yeah.
and again, it helped me develop thick skin, and helped me develop the skill of not letting people see when they get under my skin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, cool. Yeah.
And then how did you channel anger to start losing weight? Did you use anger to lose weight?
Oh, 100%. That was probably the first time that I decided, like, you know what? Watch me. I'm going to do this, because even I vividly remember, and my mom will tell you the same story.
Mm-hmm.
We went and saw my pediatrician and stuff like that just for a checkup. And he flat out told me, like, started scolding me for being so heavy. And he's like, it'll be a miracle. A doctor said this to me, a miracle if you can get down to 215 pounds.
He just egged you on.
Yeah. And the whole way home, I was just like, what the heck? And my mom just trying to, console me. She's like, oh, well, do you want to go get something to eat? No, I'm good.
Yeah.
And stuff. I was
There it
just
is.
angry the rest of the day. Like, I cannot believe this guy just said this thing to me.
Yeah.
Like, he's supposed to be on my side.
Right.
And I really do think he knew exactly what reaction he was going to get, because right about then, I had zero instruction. The weight training class
Yeah.
at my school was literally just the coach opening the door, have fun. Then he'd go hide in his office. So nothing was getting done,
Yeah.
and all I had was a cheapy pair of my mom's 8-pound dumbbells that I found in the house. Had no idea what I was doing. I just started doing, okay, I'm going to do some curls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start adding this. And then my older brother, he started telling me, oh, you should start trying to do this too, blah, blah, blah. And, not the best example, but I'm sure everybody remembers the original Metabolife pills.
Yeah.
When they had ephedra in them. You're supposed to take 6 a day. My mom was only letting me have 2.
Yeah.
I would have 1 in the morning, 1 right before lunch.
Right.
And then, dude, so I don't know what, something just clicked. She tried to take us to Jack in the Box for lunch one day. And I was like, I don't want anything. I'll just take an unsweetened iced tea.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. Like, I'll make a sandwich or something back at the house. And something clicked again. And I was like, nah, I don't want that candy.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I'm good off the fast food. No, I don't want that soda. And that combined with, whatever I was doing in my room and stuff, by then I wasn't playing football or anything anymore, or wrestling. And like, it just started falling off. And that, I think, was definitely the first really, really big sense of, I told you so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what happens when you doubt me. When I got to go back
Is that when you
7
started
or 8
to
months
become
later.
a performer too? Was that?
I had started to mess
before or
around
that?
and stuff like that with music, but
Okay.
in 11th and 12th grade, had no idea what I was doing.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to learn any instruments, learn how to read music or anything like that, even though my school, they offered that.
Yeah.
So but that next doctor's appointment, when he kind of looks at me and first like, wow, yeah, you lost some weight, man. Well, let's go put you on the scale.
Yeah.
Right. And sure enough, I get on the scale, stuff like that. Scale says 208, and the look on this doctor's face was just.
He's like, how did he? It
Yeah.
must have been amazing.
Oh, it was great, dude.
You're like, eat it.
Yeah, exactly. Me being the rebellious teenager, I wanted to just give him a double middle finger right in the face and be like, "This is what you get." But I was like, "Yeah, man, I put in work."
Okay, dude, I want to touch up on this because one, you were one of my pivotal person that I've got to speak with that made it okay for me to use my shadow sides, and I have shadow sides.
Absolutely,
It's
everybody does.
right?
It's whether or not they're afraid of it, which everybody does start off being afraid of it,
Yeah.
or whether they take the time to open that door, go in that closet, and kind of talk to that angry little gremlin that they got.
Yeah.
You know.
So you're a big RPG person, like you're very mystical, kind of like me, and the fantasy and all of this, right? So role-playing games, RPGs, or there could be books about it too. But in every scenario, when you beat a dragon, you get loot. And that loot is often another weapon, a weapon you can use to fight the next boss. And anger is such a massive weapon for you because you've used it to leverage bullying, to leverage losing a lot of weight, right? She's fighting people, protecting people. It's been a massive weapon. And people forget that they can use past weapons in their life, past evidence that they've beaten a dragon, and they can use that same weapon to fight something that's brand new. And there's this like stigma sometimes they're like, oh no, anger is not, don't use anger because it can be very destructive. Well, it can be, but it's a weapon that you've used in the past and it's gotten you through a stage. And then anger eventually it fizzles out. Like it's such a powerful and potent energy. I think naturally you just get into a state of acceptance because you're just like, all right, I'm tired.
100%. But that is also the key. If you are going to try to use that darkness and, kind of use that shadow and use anger, you've also got to be very well aware of when it's time to put that away or it is going to burn you out, and I like to think that I'm pretty good about knowing when to put it away, but I even catch myself or you catch me and you'll have to say something like, yo, you're being a bit aggressive. Like,
You need to
let's
chill
throttle
out.
it back. Are you good? And then usually like, you're one of the few people I know is not going to sugarcoat things with me. My appearance and everything doesn't faze you whatsoever. The first day I came in and interviewed, you flat out told me like, wow, you're really effed up, huh? I like that. You're hired. I was like, okay, nice. So, dude, you're, like I said, you're one of the few people that'll flat out tell me like, yeah, you good? What's going on? Because you are definitely way more guarded and more distant and angry than you usually are. And I'm like, damn,
You're right.
he's right.
Yeah.
And I think especially if you are going to tap into that dark side, that you've got to have those people, that aren't necessarily just like you. They can even be the complete mirror opposites and stuff of you. But
I have 20% dark side.
yeah, they're going to see.
Yeah.
With me, it's probably 80 and then I got 20 on
the
on the light side. Like I said, dude, like when Lucas comes in, right? I'm immediately like, oh, dark side's put away. What's up? Okay.
Yeah.
Got to play with the kid, but 100%. It's, you've got to have those people that are willing to, not like to more or less scratch that dragon behind the ears and be like, buddy, you need to go night-night now.
Yeah.
Go night-night.
Go
Put it away
work out.
for a little while.
Go
Exactly.
Meditate. Read a book.
Exactly. And I guess I definitely got lucky because especially like once I moved out here, like for you since day one, you've been, you've had zero qualms about telling me like, hey, it's time to put the swords down for a minute. Go rest, go chill. Yeah. What are you doing to relax? Yeah. And then Sarah's the same way, man. She's all about self-care and stuff like that. And dude, we're so opposite in so many ways, but that's probably why it works so well. Yeah. She'll flat out be like, yeah, you need to calm the F down. So, I'm going to hang up the phone now and I need you to go, I don't know, go shower, go read, go run, do whatever you got to do, but
this is why
put it away.
This is why it works so well. Because remember we were talking about RPGs. If you guys don't know what RPGs are, this podcast is not for you.
Closet nerds. I mean, not even closet, dude. We're like,
nerds.
yeah, exactly. We can't even like be closet nerds because that closet is full of nerd stuff.
Yeah. So we were talking about like, yeah, you can pick an avatar that has all the skills, but you're not going to get to the end game, and you're going to be useless for other people that are trying to get to the end game. So the reason why opposites work a lot of times is because they will heal you in the moment that you're creating damage. Remember, we were talking, I was like, Corey, I was like, I think I'm a warrior and a wizard. I could do a lot of damage, but I need someone that can heal me. Can you heal my body once a week, right, through massage? And you're like, done. And every time I put a healer on my side in the events where I'm tackling the next dragon or the next Medusa, whatever that boss is, anytime I have a healer on my side, I 10x my productivity. Right? We just conquer things so much. And that's why opposites attract. People are like, oh, opposites attract. The opposites attract because one of you guys are creating damage, which is AKA massive levels of productivity. And then the other one is just watering the fire, right? Just making sure things are repaired. And that's
exactly making sure it's a controlled burn.
It's a controlled burn.
It's not a wildfire. It's, controlled burn. Exactly. That's actually a really great analogy.
Yeah.
Or comparison rather.
Exactly. So I want to touch up on this real quick because I have a meeting here at 9:30. Let's talk about some pragmatic ways on how to build resilience. Because yes, you had all these scenarios. You had an amazing father that distilled this. You had a childhood experience that forced you to become resilient. Otherwise, you would have just broke, right? So if someone was like, I didn't have a childhood, I didn't have an awesome father like that, what are some ways that they can do today that's going to allow them to build 1% more resilience, another percent more resilience? Like if you had one, if you don't have any, that's cool too.
Oh, 100%. Difficult but attainable goals right out of the gate. Like don't choose the easy things that you're going to be able to knock out, right? Like with the Murph thing.
Yeah.
The first time I did Murph out in California, terrified. I had only been in CrossFit for 2 or 3 months and I was doing okay, I thought, but I walked in and the gym out there was 30,000 square feet. There was more than 100 people all doing it at once and everybody's super fit and everything. And I'm like, all right, yeah, this is going to suck. And I sat there before that. Like I was trying to talk myself out of it. Like, no, you don't need to do this, man. You just take a rest day. You don't need to do this. Still was like, no, I said I was going to do this. I promised my workout partner, John, I was going to do this. My sister, Miranda, she worked at the gym. I told her I was going to be there. I've got people depending on me. Went in, did it, crushed it.
Yeah.
Scared as hell. But I knew like, all right, man, this is that little kid inside you in the back of your head. Like, no, you can't do this. This is scary. Right? Like, cool. The shadow and this kid, they need to have a talk.
Yeah.
And, the shadow kind of will take over and be like, I got you, kid.
Yeah.
Cool. Give me your hand. I'll lead the way.
What's the percentage of difficulty? 50% success rate, 50% failure rate? Or is it like 80% you can succeed, 20% you can fail? What's considered difficult for you?
I'd say 60 fail, 40 fail.
Dang, you're hardcore.
Dude, I love a challenge, man. I absolutely love it. When people start leveling stuff at me, like when Nick originally, he, let's do the 100 burpees and the 5K run for every day for a month. It's like, all right, this is going to suck, but I'm in, at first it did suck. And dude, after a pretty short amount of time, Nick and I both were like, okay, cool. Like we got this now, but now it's starting to feel a little bit easy. What can we do to make this harder?
I like it.
Okay, let's do this all in a weight vest. Let's add a little bit more of a run. And things will just start to compile. You know, I mean, it just kept going and going and going. Like, how can I keep going? How can I keep making this difficult? Because I'm not feeling it as much as I did.
Yeah.
And like, how can I beat the crap out of myself
Right.
that much more?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I'm going to do 150 burpees, 200 burpees. Okay, I'm going to run 5 and 6 miles with the weight vest on. And it just starts to compile, you know?
I want to touch up on that really quick because the 60% failure rate. Anytime you do fail, why do you want the 60%? Is there an inherent advantage failing, or was like what is that for you?
Again, like, I don't want things to be too easy when I want them to actually be challenging for me. I flat out admit that, like, physically I did have an advantage. Like I said, even before I started getting into the gym, I was in the moving industry. That's, full body workouts for anywhere from 4 to 16 or 20 hours a day. Like, I want things to be difficult. I don't want them to be things that everybody can do.
Right.
And it's not that I want the accolades. I don't want, the recognition or anything like that. It's for me. It's a point of pride for me personally. Like, yeah, I did that.
I do the 50-50 for me, but you can do 60-40. This is how hardcore Corey is. That's why we're a little bit different. But in that 50% of failure is my richest moments where I gain so much knowledge. What
100%.
I can do, what I can do physically, what I can do mentally. I start to learn things more too. Just naturally, there's just this like, okay, I know I need to touch up on these 3 skills because I failed. When things are easy, there's not a lot of learning for me.
Exactly.
It's just like cool, massive dopamine release, cool, I'm out. Right?
Exactly. That's the other important part is when people do inevitably fail, and get it in your head right now, you're gonna fail at things. You are not going to be great at everything. You're gonna have failures, and it's really all about how you handle that. For me and guys like you, in that failure point, we're like, all right, why did I fail? These 3 or however many things are why I didn't mess this up.
Yeah.
What can I do to start working on these things so this does not happen again?
I love it.
Then cool. I, set a goal. Like, okay, I'm going to try this again in 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
I do them in 90 days.
Yeah.
So we touched up on that because we do this at least a quarter. Most of our trainers will do it once a year. Do something so hard once a year that the rest of your year is easy. At least make sure that it's 50% success rate, 50% failure rate. And then there was another element to something that we added. No one else can know about it except us.
Exactly.
Why is that? Yeah. Why is that so important in terms of just creating resilience?
Because it's for you. You're not doing it for other people. It's for your satisfaction. And it's like that little invisible badge of honor that you've got on that nobody else knows about, and that type of thing, like, that's extremely empowering as well.
Yeah. Super empowering, because if you're posting it online, you're getting thousands of likes, you're doing it for that. But in the moment that you're doing it for no particular reason, just to do it, just, dude, I get this sense of empowerment. I get this sense of fulfillment that I can essentially do anything. Right?
100%. And it's a different dopamine release, right? I personally believe that, okay, cool. Random strangers or your buddies and stuff on Instagram, like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Like, cool. That's a little bit of a dopamine release and stuff. But when nobody, like, you're the only one patting yourself on the back, dude, that release is massive.
Oh, yeah.
You just stand there like, I did it.
Yeah.
Like, I made this happen. Nobody else helped me. Nobody knew I was doing this. There was nobody encouraging me. It was just me and myself,
Have a team. Have at least, like, because remember, I did one.
Oh, yeah.
I ran from here to the other side. And then you texted me midway through. It was like, are you alive? I think that's important. Don't go into a Misogi dead.
Yeah.
Right? Make sure you tell at least one person what you're about to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Just in that event, you're like, you need to get electrolytes. I was like, bro, thanks, man. I'm good, man. I'm good. And I think the dopamine release is happening there, but
Mhm.
then it happens for 364 other days
Oh, hell yeah.
because you have that evidence that you did that thing that was so hard.
Yeah, and I think it continues on because you already know, like, all right, cool, I conquered this. What's that next difficult thing that I can do? Something just a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can do that. You
I
know, it's
love
that
it.
constant
Yeah.
chasing after it, you know, and that all it is intrinsic to resilience because the average person, they're going to encounter that little bit of difficulty
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to back off or they're going to procrastinate, put things off, stuff like that. You know, like you have to you start to enjoy that pain, enjoy that soreness and the tiredness, the late nights and the early mornings. Like you start to really enjoy it,
I
you
love
know.
it. Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of one of my favorite Bukowski pieces. It's just called "Go All the Way,"
Mm-hmm.
and the very first line is, "If you're going to do it, go all the way,
Yeah.
or don't even start."
That's awesome.
You know,
Okay.
like as negative as
Yeah.
you know, as dark as Bukowski could be, you read some of his stuff and you're like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
you were one resilient bastard.
All right. I want to end with this question because I
Mm-hmm.
got an appointment here outside. But final question.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to have people in your team that have resilience?
100%. It's so crucial because if you're the only one with resilience or nobody has got resilience, the first sign of hardship, everybody's going to crumble.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if, you know, the de facto leader or the person initiating this group or something like that, if they don't have any type of resilience or grit,
Mm-hmm.
the moment they crumble, everybody underneath them is going to crumble as well because they're likely holding on to that person, looking to that person for inspiration and for strength and for advice. You know, it's man,
It's everything, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
The best teams that I've seen, there's 1, 2, or 3 people that have those resilience traits.
Mhm.
And it's nice because you can't just have one because it relies on that. If you have 2 or 3, you can create a pillar around that. And dude,
Yeah, I mean, it's
massive.
you know, like I guess I'm kind of, you know, I'm even going through a little bit of it and stuff like that right now with all my lung issues and stuff. Like I love cardio. Freaking love it, dude. Like my burpees, the long distance runs, all that type of stuff. And you know, like I said, 2 years ago, had no idea that I caught valley fever
Yeah.
and stuff. And then recently it came back and I got a ton of fluid sitting on my lungs. So doctors are like, you've got to chill back on the cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the back of my head, I'm like, no, dude, I can't. No. I have to keep going. Like,
Yeah.
but I can't. I'm going to like, I hack my lungs out.
Right.
Like I'm going to make myself sick, all this other. And finally I had to just, you know, suck it up. Be like, what can you do to use this to your advantage? Cool. You're just going to start eating more,
Yeah.
eating right, and you're going to lift. You've been saying you were going to do a bulk cycle for years now, and you always somehow talk your way out of it or get halfway through and decide like, no, I'm not liking how heavy I feel right now.
Yeah.
Forcing myself to do it this time.
Boom.
Yeah.
We'll end with that lesson. Another resilience lesson. You're taking disadvantages and you're turning it into an advantage. And that's the
Exactly.
value of resilience. Corey, where can they find you? Because you're always like hidden.
Probably in the corner of West or St. Rose.
Yeah, West or
I'm like,
St.
I'm
Rose,
off
yeah.
in the corner doing my little burpees and stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, or
You purposely like hide, which is
yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, I'm not, you know, I get enough attention and stuff
Yeah.
when I actually am on stage and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and for the tattoos and the voice and everything. I'm like,
I'm good.
dude, yeah. If I'm working out, that's my time. I just want to have my headphones in, zone out and just move. That really is like, aside from, you know, my call to Sarah and stuff at night, that is my favorite part of the day, is just when I get to shut my brain off and just move, just enjoy some music.
Yeah.
You know,
I love it, man. Dude, thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure, dude.
All right, broski.
See